This video was sponsored by Morning Brew. Hey, happy Friday. This week we'll talk about Samsung teaming up with Google to make smartwatches together. We'll talk about LeEco making smartphones again for some reason. And we'll also talk about Snapchat making spectacles again for some reason. Lossless audio was also a hot topic for discussion online this week, so we decided to make our weekly tech knowledge quiz this time around all about music and audio. Links to the quiz are in the description, and welcome to the Friday checkout. Okay, I have 3 release highlights this week, starting with the Sharp Aquos R6, which is a Japan-exclusive phone with a 240Hz IGZO display that goes all the way up to an insane 2000 nits of brightness and comes with a gigantic 1-inch camera sensor that, instead of providing some zoom lens, simply lets you crop into the huge image. That is something I'd love to try myself. Second is the absolutely bonkers-looking Cell Alpha speaker, which is a $1,800 smart speaker designed by a veteran Apple designer who suggests that you should get 3 per room for an optimal experience. Sure, cool. And the release with the most upvotes over the last 7 days is the System 76 Launch Keyboard, which is a programmable open source mechanical keyboard from the company that is most well known for making Linux-based computers and stuff. You can vote on your favorite products at least once a week to help me pick my community favorites every Friday, and check out all the new releases to stay up to date in the Crowd app that is linked in the description. Okay, and my first story of the week is Samsung and Google teaming up to combine their smartwatch platforms, Wear OS and Tizen, into a single OS that, at least for now, they're just calling Wear. So future Samsung watches would just use this platform, and other Android watches would theoretically benefit from Samsung's expertise too. Now, this was presented as some sort of a victory for both of these companies and a sort of merger of two equals, but I actually think neither of those things is true. First, to call this a merger is a bit misleading in my opinion, as you can't really merge 2 mature operating systems, and 2 teams with different priorities and schedules can't really collectively develop an OS like this. Instead, it seems like Google's Wear OS is the platform that survives, and Samsung simply agreed to port a few of their features over to it, like their watch face editor and some sort of sensor batching that improves battery efficiency for fitness tracking tasks. After that, Google will probably be in charge of the final OS, just like they are in charge of Android on phones too. And the reason why these 2 companies called it a merger is basically, in my opinion, to save face, because if you think about it, they both had to make significant concessions. So to call it anything but a merger would basically be an admission of failure. With Wear OS, Google originally desperately wanted to avoid the Android phone mess that it had, where it allowed every phone brand to manage their own updates and customize the OS to their liking. So for watches, they made a centralized platform that would be updated and skinned and managed directly by Google, with watchmakers only getting basic customization options. But that approach failed miserably, with brands like Samsung, Huawei, Oppo, OnePlus, Fitbit, Garmin basically all opting to build their own OS instead to retain some level of control. This overwhelming disinterest from watchmakers is probably what kept Google from actually committing the resources to make the platform any good, and what the Samsung merger actually means is Google in reality giving up on that policy and letting Samsung and others have their own customizations and control over updates, just like they have on phones. So Google had to admit defeat with its centralized platform, and Samsung of course had to admit that despite being the 2nd largest smartwatch maker in the world, it couldn't actually reach a scale with its products where making its own OS made any real sense. Now, it's still unclear what exact concessions the 2 will make. Like, for example, we don't know if things like Samsung Health, Samsung Pay, and Bixby will be axed for their Google counterparts, for example. And even though I do think these are clear concessions, they will probably benefit the 2 companies and the consumers in the end anyway. The combination of Samsung hardware and Google software has proven to work excellently for phones, and I would expect it to do the same for smartwatches as well. And now that the 2 are finally in the same boat, you can see both companies finally finding the confidence to commit a lot more resources to smartwatches too, with Google having added a whole host of long-needed updates and improvements to the OS during I/O, and Samsung finally reportedly working on a new watch with a modern 5nm chip instead of the ancient 12 12nm stuff that the Wear OS platform was stuck with for years. Now, I'm not a smartwatch kind of person, but if you are, and if you are in the Android camp, then you should probably be looking forward to finally having real competition for the Apple Watch, and that's exciting. Okay, and my second story of the week will be a super short one, and it is LeTV announcing that they're getting back into making smartphones again. Now, if you've already forgotten about the brand, LeEco was what the company called their smartphones in the past, and they were a super hot topic among spec-hungry people, especially in China and also some other parts of Asia, for about a year or two, providing insane value for money initially. And then their founder, Jia Yueting, basically ran the company so hard into the ground in less than a year with billions of dollars in debt that he himself had to flee China to escape his debt collectors. Then he declared personal bankruptcy in the US and almost took his other company, Faraday Future, with him to the grave as well, which currently officially risks him as a risk factor in their own company filings. Good stuff. Anyway, the Le company, which now calls itself Le.com for some reason, has somehow survived in China and is now preparing to launch a phone again that they're calling a superphone. And it will be interesting to see if they can actually get rid of their horrible company image after they have burned all of the bridges around them. Okay, and my third story of the week will be Snapchat at their Snap Partner Summit announcing their new pair of AR spectacles. These are not like the previous spectacles from Snapchat that were basically just a camera integrated into a plastic frame, but instead these come with proper displays, apparently at a super bright 2000 nits, so they can be used outdoors, and they have integrated speakers and a touchpad on the side, all while only weighing 134 grams. Snap emphasized that these are sort of prototype devices that are only available to select developers who build AR filters for Snapchat, and that's probably why they look so pretty damn clunky, but they're clearly the same type of headset as Facebook's upcoming one, and to some very limited extent as the Microsoft HoloLens. Unlike the HoloLens though, which by now has become an almost entirely enterprise device, Snap of course is deeply consumer focused and presented these as a way to play games and apply fun filters for people on the world around them, which they can then snap pictures of and send to their friends. None of these examples seemed like any fun to me, and unless the technology gets radically better, I don't really see a massive market for this in consumers. But then again, Snapchat has apparently about 500 million monthly active users who apparently love AR filters, so maybe there's a market need that I'm just not aware of. Beside the glasses, the company also announced that they're basically turning Snapchat into even more of a shopping platform, where you can try on clothes in AR, for example, and shop for them right through the app. And this seems to be the direction that all the social media platforms are going towards. Instagram, Pinterest, TikTok, all of them. First they monetized just through ads, and now they're basically all trying to become a shopping platform. Now there are a lot more stories I couldn't cover in this week's episode, like the big cryptocurrency crash or all the other announcements from Google I/O. So if you want to see more than just my 3 weekly stories, all of those and many more are covered in the Morning Brew newsletter. Monday to Sunday, this newsletter covers tech, business, and whatever else is relevant in a format that's actually very similar in length and style to what I do here on my show. There's a lot of overlap in topics with what I cover. It's really witty, to the point, and it highlights all the relevant news in a compact form factor. So in just a few minutes every morning, you can be up to date to start the day. As the name suggests, I find that it goes great with my first cup of coffee in the morning, so I can catch up with all that is happening instead of just aimlessly scrolling through social media right away. I love waking up to a bit of quick analysis on stuff like how SoftBank managed to regain its footing, and signing up takes like 15 seconds, plus it's free, so there's really no reason not to sign up. Click the link in the description and you'll be all set.